The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're hanging out with a guy who's literally earned his way through just about every rung in this business, then turned around and built pathways for the next generation to do the same. Corry Brown is the co-owner of McCormick Automotive Center and McCormick Quality Tires and Lube in Fort Collins, Colorado. McCormick Automotive is a full-service AAA-approved repair shop known for treating every car like it belongs to their mom and backing repairs with a 5-year, 60,000-mile warranty, one of the strongest in the industry. Just a few minutes walk away, McCormick Quality Tires and Lube focuses on fast service, tires, alignments, brakes, and maintenance to keep Fort Collins commuters rolling. Corry's path is the definition of earning your way. He started wrenching in junior high and high school, fixing his dad's repair attempts and taking paint and body classes before earning a scholarship to Wyotech in Laramie back in the early 90s. From there, he worked his way up through Grease Monkey, gas stations, and independent shops, then spent about a decade with drivability guru Randy Burnclaw, learning high-end diagnostics and emissions work. In 2010, he joined John McCormick's shop, and about 6.5 years ago, he stepped into a partnership role. Today, Corry helps run a two-shop operation with two different business models, one built around deep diagnostics and the other around quick service and tires. On top of keeping both sides humming, he's built a structured apprenticeship and pay system where seasoned techs are rewarded for training newer techs. Entry-level GS techs get a real on-ramp with tools and mentorship, and there's a clear ladder from green to flat-rate producer. All of it sits on a simple philosophy. Treat every car like it belongs to your own mom. Make fair profit, but never at the expense of integrity. In this episode, we're going to dig into how Corry worked his way from scholarship kid to co-owner and what it's like to manage both at a full-service diagnostics shop and a quick-service tire store, and how he's using structured training and real-world accountability to build the kind of techs every shop owner says they can't find. Corry, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I really appreciate you being here today and taking the time to be on the show.
I'm really happy to be here. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I know that we got into a bit of your story there on the open. Your story is very much a start at the bottom and earn your way forward kind of approach. And I'm curious, when you look back from fixing your dad's car in junior high, all the way to Wyotech, to Grease Monkey, to where you're at now partnering with John, what were a couple of the key moments and mentors that really shaped how you lead today?
Yeah, I guess I've had a lot of really great guys that kind of pulled me under the wing as I grew up. Starting off in high school, Dad, being a farmhand all his life, he knew how to fix everything with duct tape and baling wire to the best of his ability until it didn't work. And then it just seems like through life, even though I didn't have a father figure through the whole time span, there was about 20 years actually that I didn't see my father. So I didn't even know he was still out there till recently. That's a whole nother story. But had great mentors that I've really looked up to in years past that kind of took me under their wing. It's just like kids that you see in the shop every once in a while. You get these young guys that are go-getters and they want to conquer the world, and you want to do nothing but help that kind of guy, right? Or gal. And I was always very driven. I always wanted to be something. I just knew that my skill set, my passion was into cars, whether it was racing, fixing, whatever it took to be in that industry. I knew it was something that I was going to be really good at. And it was something that I could probably be better than most. And when you do that and you have that ego, if you will, to really strive, I knew that was going to be my gateway of becoming somebody, right? And the other factor is by working my way up at that age, I never expected it. I knew my parents didn't have the money. For me to come up to Wyotech, I had to figure out my own way. For me to get from Jiffy Lube to the gas station to Stan's Automotive, I had to basically work my way up the ladder, and that was just the way it was. I didn't think there was another way. When I first got hired back in the early 90s, I went to Wyotech in 92, and tells you how old I am. And working my way through it, it was one of those deals where at that time, technicians were a dime a dozen. Everybody, if you could find you a good shop to work in, that was rare. That was really rare. And so you had to prove it. You had to prove that you wanted it. You had to prove that you could push through and get your butt kicked and pick yourself back up the next day and keep trucking. When you do that enough times, I think you just work your way up the ladder. And before you know it, you're running a $4 million business and in 18 employees, and they're calling you the old guy, right? So
yeah, confidence is definitely built over repetitions. And sometimes those repetitions are just getting knocked down and seeing how many times you can get up.
Yeah, and I've always been pretty good at that, to be honest with you. I've been knocked down quite a few times. I've had some pretty big, I could be on the Jerry Springer show, I'm sure. I've had a lot of challenging family stuff in my past. And when you go through a few of those things, it takes a lot to get you down. Yeah. And I've always just been so goal driven. And my goals have always been so far out there. But someday I will have that. Whatever that is, I will always work towards some kind of goal. I've just been so goal driven forever. My wife always says that I'm never happy. No, I'm never content. I am happy. I'm happy going after a goal. If I didn't have a goal, I'd probably be totally lost, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds like you think everybody ought to have a goal.
Yeah, I really don't understand people that don't have a goal. I'm like, what do you do? How do you get yourself out of bed when you're, especially when you get older, right? The older you get, the harder it is, right? And yeah, aging is not for the weak. Let's put it that way. Especially if you're a technician that threw a hammer at ball joints as hard as you could, or had a big explosive temper when you were young. All those things start to come up. To get out of bed, boy, you better have some kind of a reasoning for it, or I could see where you just don't.
So how do you foster that goal-setting mindset amongst your employees, and what do you do to help them with that?
I think that a lot of the guys in today's world, it's really hard for the young guys. If it's not right now, if it's not instant, it's not worth working for. And I try to interject, look at my life, look where I've been, look how I started. I struggled in school, but I knew if I worked hard enough, I could get somewhere. And I've taken some of these guys and I've taken them under my wing, and you tend to have some favorites from time to time that come through the shop, and they've had dinner out at my place, and I've helped them work on their car and get that car to the track, showing them that working for a goal can be very rewarding, more rewarding than anything that's instant, like on Facebook or Instagram, any of those things. All those things are so shallow. When you really put your hands on something and you make things work, and it's something you did, something that you built, yeah, there's a lot of pride in that. You get a young guy that has got the mechanical ability, but maybe doesn't have the confidence yet, and you help him get some confidence, look out. He's going to be your best bud, and he's going to do whatever he can to try to reach those goals. I have one-on-ones with my guys once a month, and it's a 20-minute one-on-one in my office, and it's probably about, realistically, in thirds. 1/3 of it is talking about their production, how well they're doing, if they're happy, how are you doing with everybody else? And the last part of it, I'm like, what is your dreams? Why are you here? Your job is not who you are. This is a means to get where you want to be, right? And if you are the best in the shop, chances are you're going to get where you need to be quicker than most. And I have all these books back here, and you probably can't see them. There's some down there, but these are all my guys. This is one half of the shop, and the other is the other half of the shop over there. And I break out their folder, and I talk about what their plans are. Are they going camping this weekend? Are they putting a big block in the car? Are they taking the wife to Hawaii? Whatever that dream may be, I'm right there with them. And so that way I know what's motivating these guys. It's not all about dollars. It's more about the dream. And I think that's where I connect.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A lot of places can pay, but it takes real effort to be invested in what they're actually working for and the why behind why we all get up and go to work.
Exactly. Yeah. And if they know that you know their goals and their dreams, and you hold them accountable. So where are you at on that? Did you get the camper? Did you buy the tickets for the wife? If you hold them accountable, it makes them like, oh, wow, he really cares. And don't get me wrong. We need to make money. We need to make a living. But if I can get all those guys' dreams to happen, my dreams are going to happen too. Right?
Absolutely.
There's nothing more to seeing somebody that achieves their dream and to see that smile on their face.
And know you helped them get there.
Yes. Can it be hard when they leave? You bet. But I had somebody tell me that I would rather mentor these guys and educate these guys to be the best of their ability to maybe someday they could leave this shop and start their own shop. But I want to treat them so well that they don't want to leave. And
Absolutely.
that is something I really try to live by.
Yeah, I think I've seen that repeated by Gary Vaynerchuk and a few other people over the years in different iterations. I love that version for this industry. Um,
Yeah.
So, with goals in mind, I know you got the two shops and you've got a really interesting split between the automotive side and the quality tires and lube side. And I'm curious, do you see the shops as separate businesses with their own locations, or is it one shop with two locations? Kind of walk us through how you see that and why.
When we first started, we thought we would just make the other shop that's a 4-minute walk across the street on the other side of the railroad tracks with a different zip code. We just thought that would be a good backup shop, right? An overfill shop. We'll run cars back and forth. In a short amount of time, we realized that's not going to work. The efficiency was in the toilet. Communications were getting dropped. I thought you did this. Well, I thought you did that. There was too many of those things that were going on. In a short amount of time, we realized, okay, we need to make this different. And knowing that we're pulling from the same customer pool, right? They're really close, even though if you were to Google McCormick Automotive, depending on which side of the tracks you're on, it'll send you to each store because the railroad tracks have two different zip codes. So that works out in my favor. I really think if they were in the same zip code, it would be even more confusing for customers, right? So by splitting that up, my goal has always been to have the entry-level guys start at the tire store. McCormick Quality Tire and Lube, I consider that tires. McCormick Automotive Center, I can consider that auto. So when we're speaking, this is auto, this is tires. So tires is where the greenhorns start. That's where the guys kind of work. That's where you have the entry-level guys that like, hey, I think I want to be a mechanic, right? Those are the guys that you get in and you get them working under a good B plus, A minus tech, and they get moved up the ladder and eventually have those guys, they get so good, they're like, okay, this guy, he's got all his AACs, he's master certified. We need to put him in the auto shop and kind of replace the next guy. That has been the goal for about a couple of years now. Now, there are things that kind of challenge that. You at the tire store, you go through young guys. Like I said, I'm thinking about becoming a mechanic. You go through a couple of those guys before you realize you have one that, you know, not only does he have the skill set, but does he show up on time? And for me, punctuality is almost right there with attitude. You have your attitude, you have punctuality, everything else I could teach you. Right? I could teach you how to set up gears. I could teach you how to do drivability and scope and all these things. Right. But those two things, if you're not there on time and you don't have an attitude that, because one attitude can affect the whole shop, right? And if you have a guy showing up late, that can affect the whole shop too, because you're like, he shows up late. And so those two things I really feel are the hardest things to find in the young technicians. Everything else, I could teach you how to set up everything. But does the kid want to be taught? Is this a job or is this a career?
Yeah,
job, really important. You can go through 50 burger flippers before you find one that's going to run the store, right? Yeah, and it's the same thing in automotive. So that's big. My biggest challenge is I would have these guys and I take them under my wing and they're really good guys, but they just couldn't show up on time. I had to let them go. I bought them an alarm clock. I'm like, here, I'm the owner of the company. I really care about you. Take this home, turn this on. Oh, I use my phone.
It's not working. Maybe try something else.
In my day, if I were to be late for work, I would be, number one, I'd be so embarrassed. Number two, I would have my mother-in-law call me if I was going to be late. If I had to have a wake-up call from my mother-in-law, if I had to have a splash of water from my wife or my girlfriend, I would never be late. Right?
Different mentality.
Yeah, these young guys, they just don't understand that value. They don't see how important that is.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit, but I know that you built out a structured system, GS1, GS2, GS3, where newer techs are hourly, seasoned techs, train them. Can you walk me through that system a little bit in practice, and how has it changed the way that your experienced techs are looking at the new guys over the last couple of years that I know you've implemented this?
Yeah, we used to pay salary. And for the most part, I had a lot of master techs. This is before the tire store came about. And I mostly had a lot of higher level techs. Everybody was paid. Everybody did really well. And then COVID hit. COVID changed all that. Right before COVID is when we bought the building for the tire store. That was the end of 2019. Perfect timing. We buy a store, everything is looking really great, and then the bottom falls out. So we had to start getting creative. I'm like, okay, this business model that we were doing worked for a while when you have mature technicians that were very happy where they were at. And then short amount of time after COVID, we lost a couple people because of their work. Things changed. The whole dynamic of everything changed during COVID and almost a year or two afterwards. So we had to start coming up with a strategy of, okay, how are we going to get these guys in here that want to be here? I worked flat rate many years, and there's a lot of good things with flat rate, but it's easier to control comebacks and problems when you are hourly. You're doing a job. As long as I was out there cracking the whip, they were getting hours. And then things changed. I had young guys and guys that weren't sure if they were going to be a technician, how long they were going to be here. Then I had to start putting things into place that really incentivized them. If they got in here and they hardly had any tools and they brought in their little toolbox they got from Sears, they got from Kmart, I'm dating myself, it's more like Harbor Freight nowadays. I had to come up with some kind of a plan that, hey, if you work for me, like our tool program, you work for me for 2 years, I have $1,100 worth of tools, we sign off on it, and after 2 years, the tools are yours. That helped a lot of these young guys that had all this drive, had all the what it took to maybe become somebody, but just didn't have the financials to be able to drop that kind of coin for that kind of tools. A Napa Gold, and I got with my Napa rep, and we sat down and we made our whole tool list of what would a guy need to get started. He gets a little cart, gets an impact. He's got to be able to look at tread depth. He's got to be able to measure coolant and brake fluid and be able to, we get him loaded with a tablet, and he's got to have some skills. And you get the guy, and if he works for 2 years, then he gets the tools. And a lot of the guys I've seen that get the tools, they usually take those Napa tools, and the Napa tools are great, right? I'm not dogging him, but they want to be like part of the cool kids. They want the Snap-on box, right? They want something that stands out that's bright green or whatever. Back in my day, I had a turquoise box, and that was like new and improved. Forever, everybody's had a red toolbox, right? And so that seems to really get them. And as they start to buy tools, we talk about the tools that they probably need. That's on our one-on-ones. Hey, what are you missing? What are you borrowing? And you can usually see what guys are serious by how much they're investing in their career. I preach all the time when I'm doing a job interview with a young guy, and I'm looking for something that he has invested into this career, whether it's schooling, whether it's tools, whether he worked at a gas station for 5 years. I'm looking for something that has got his heels and his feet buried into this industry. And if he's not, and he's just tiptoeing around, I can't hire that kid because he's not sure what he wants in life. I have all these young guys that come to me, and some of them are clients' kids. Hey, I think my son would be really good if he worked for you, right? And you bring him in, you're like, okay, Junior, what do you think? And I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a mechanic. I don't know. You have to have a passion for it. You have to have something that shows me that you're invested in it. That way, when times get tough, because they're going to get tough, a general service guy, if he's struggling and he's stripping out a drain plug or whatever, can't get the lug nuts off because they're so swollen, there's going to be times I don't know if I can cut this. And if you don't have some kind of feet planted in the ground, he's going to take off and he's going to go do something different.
It's easy to run when you don't have roots.
Exactly. So once I get a guy with some basics, with some roots, get back on track here, and we get some tools here, I look at my GSs. I pay them every 2 weeks, but they're bonused weekly. All right. So we were doing every 2 weeks, but then 1 week would fall apart, and you would see that they wouldn't work very hard the second week because the first week fell apart on them. Or vice versa. The first week was explosive and they did really well, and then their heart is broken because it fell on their face the second week. Because
it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay every 2 weeks, but we're going to track it every week. So my GSs, basically the way I have them going is if they can flag basically anywhere from, and I start my GSs, my entry-level guys, a trainee 18, GS. So that's a GS1. So a GS2 would be 19. A GS3 is 20. And those levels depend on, to be a GS3, you have to be flagging some hours. You have to have a decent attitude, and you have to have at least one ASC. And that's usually like that entry level ASC. What color is the coolant? How do you take the off? Yeah,
Hold on.
righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. What's a screwdriver? One of those. So for them to be a GS3, they start off basically $20 an hour. And if they flag anywhere from $22 to $25 or 22 to 25 hours, I give them another $2 an hour. So they go from basically making $20 to $22 an hour. And if they can flag almost 30 hours a week as that GS3, so he's been here with me for, I'd say about 6-7 months, then he could be making about $4 extra an hour for those hours.
That's pretty great progression for guys just getting started.
Yeah. So 2 hours or $2 for up to 25, $3 up to 28, and then $4 up to 30 hours. So that way it gives them steady. And then once they start getting over, they're no longer paid just hourly. The flat rate plan is basically a pretty cushion, almost salary is what I'd call it. But if my guys flag anywhere from 36 to 37.9, they go from basically making a C-Tech, a C1. He goes from $21 an hour to basically $40 an hour if he can flag 37 hours.
Wow.
Per week. And so we had to give an incentive. So that way it's not like,
you can't be lazy.
Right. I want the guy that wants to stay late. I want the guy that wants to work through lunch. I want the guy that really wants to put that extra effort in. And if he does, I want to reward him. I don't want to deflate him. I don't want to take his, because a lot of this, believe it or not, being a technician, you have to have some confidence. And if you get your butt kicked with something that you got lost on and you had to have the master tech help you out and bail you out, and it could be pretty grueling. And so you want to be able to make it, okay, this week you didn't hit that goal, but we got a whole nother week and we're going to be able to make it happen for you. And if you're in the trenches with your guys, hey, what'd you need there? Is that water pump correct? And if you got your guys going and they know that you're in their corner for them, they will go to bat for you. They'll do what it takes.
So I know most of our listeners, they're either going to be running the full service shop or a quick service kind of model. You've got both, and you're living in both worlds at once. And I'm curious, what are the big differences in how you lead staff at each location or with each business model?
The biggest difference, really, the technicians are the way they're bonused, the way they are as they go up the ladder and they get their ASCs and they go from a GS1 all the way up to an A3. That's across both businesses. The biggest difference is the business model is upfront. It's the service writers, right? The auto shop has got the tow trucks. It's broke. They're going to have to fix it. So those service writers, I have 2 service writers. I got Justin and I got Kaylee, and I have a parts guy. And the parts guy is the one that's looking for the parts and building the tickets. And then those are pushed up front, and then Kaylee and Justin sell, right? So that's how that's done in that business model. Just because these jobs here, the average ROI here is about 1,100 at the auto store, right? Yep. So they're bigger jobs. They're clutches, engines, head gaskets, lots of small parts. The tire store, I have a store manager that runs stuff that's making sure the young guys are on task, making sure they're grabbing that next ticket, making sure they're not adding like 50 weights to one rim and doing it proper. Because when you have the younger guys, you have to keep your eye on them. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you have to babysit them a little bit. And then Marty, my service writer over there, he's building his own tickets for the most part. 4 tires and a set of shocks. 4 tires, an alignment, and maybe some brakes. His average RO over there, they're about 600 ARO over there. But they have more tickets. So it's a bunch of little jobs over there where you have, so like I said, the technicians are bonused the same. If you have a good B tech that really knows how to hang parts, he loves the tire store because it is just brakes, shocks, struts, ball joints, brakes, shocks. Where the auto shop, what we call gravy, right? And you go over to the auto shop, and that's where my master tech, he's my age. Actually, he's my best friend. He was my best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding. His son's working at the store. My master tech, he is bonused. So he gets paid a salary, a pretty good salary. And then he is bonused every time one of the guys in the shop hits bonus.
Oh, great.
We do that so that way when somebody is bugging him because they can't see the forest through the trees, because they can't get the bolt started, he is not upset that his paycheck is hurting by helping another guy. So we made it where every time one of the guys in the shop hits bonus, he gets a bonus,
I think that's a good way to incentivize some of the guys to help train the younger generation. It's hard in a culture where in this industry we focused on hours and flagging time and what's the book time on that? And am I getting book time to help that new tech? And that's a really good way to combat that. So for anyone out there listening, if you want to take Corey's model there, it seems like it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, it works out great. You get a master tech that's been around for a long time. He's got all his AACs. He's the one that all the guys look up to. He's the shop foreman. During COVID, when we had no training, he taught classes. He was teaching the scope classes. We were doing a lot of training in-house. And he saw in a short amount of time, if he could get these guys up to maybe a higher level, then his paycheck got bigger.
He stopped getting distracted by all the easy problems that he could teach them to solve. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for life kind of mentality.
Exactly. Now, that took a while for him to get there because he would just want to fix it for him real quickly. Because at the time, he figured it was faster for him to give him the answer instead of having them work through the answer. But we've worked through that. And now they're going and resourcing their own information before they come with a question. And that's helped out tremendously. Because you can't have a guy that just gives them the answers because they're busy. They just give them the answer and then so they can keep moving on. That works for a short amount of time, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So that's been learning for him too. And he doesn't want to be on the counter. He just want to be up front. He loves fixing cars. He's one of the top shop guys up in Northern Colorado, and he gets paid for that. I'm not worried about how many hours he flags because all the stuff that he diagnosed, he feeds all the other guys. So the business model at the auto store is I have two guys. I have a GS and I have a master tech that feeds all the guys in the middle. All the worker bees in the middle are the ones that make the money. The GS, he's the one he's doing oil changes, doing safety inspections, he's selling service, he's finding the leaks, and those things trickle up. And then Jim's doing the drivability, it came in on the hook, it won't run, and all that stuff goes to, so all the money is made at basically the B's and the C's and lower A's.
Yeah, that's great. We've had real good conversation, but I can't let you go without asking the question that I ask everybody. Obviously, with the Honest Garage podcast and honest mechanic marketing, honesty is really big to us over here on this side. And when you hear the phrase honest mechanic or honest shop, what does that mean to you personally? And how does it show up in the way that you're running the business on a day-to-day?
Interesting. For me, it's you have to love what you do and you have to have pride in what you do, right? You have to pride in how you do it. And for me, the honest part, that is something that I have tried to project from the very beginning. And I really learned that when my daughter moved away. She moved to Vegas, and my little girl was living with a guy in Vegas, and I have always taken care of her. And being a Napa Gold, I realized that there are a lot of people out there that I don't know. I know a lot of people in this area, but she went out there and she had something fail on her car. And I realized at that moment of what a lot of our customers do of like, holy cow, who's going to take care of my baby? And we have a lot of college kids. And so we have a lot of parents thinking the exact same thing. When they're calling here, I could hear them on the phone. They're interviewing us. Hey, what are your morals? What are you doing? Are you taking advantage because she's a woman or because she's young? And for me, that changing this mindset of having to take advantage of people to make money is just wrong. We don't need to do that. There is so much work out there. If you do an honest living and make an honest pay, you can go home and put your head on your pillow and know that you did a great job. And that's why we literally said it in the website, and you even repeated it. It's from the heart. I really want my guys to look at that car like it's their mother's car. Yeah. And if you have your heart involved in what you are looking at, not, hey, I got to make a mortgage payment or I got to make the car payment, but hey, this is my mom's car. Is that leak really that bad? Or is that something that she can hold off on for a little while? Because we treat our moms completely different than you would if you're trying to make a mortgage payment, because your heart's involved. And I believe if your heart is involved in how you look at things, I think you can make the right decision. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Hopefully no one out there wants to take advantage of their mother.
Not to say that everybody's got a great mom.
But you don't want to take advantage of her.
Or your grandmother, or now you are taking care of them. It's like your grandparents or whoever that you feel in your own daughter's car. Does your daughter's car have to have that? Now, granted, I should be careful when I say that because I've seen a lot of college kids come out from back east And I don't know what the heck their parents were thinking, but they made it. I'm like, yeah, it was a pure miracle. They made it here, but I don't know how they're going to make it back. But yeah,
Right.
I really believe if your heart is in your decision making, that you're going to make the right decision. And John and I, we have really done that from the beginning. And sometimes it's really hard. It is really hard to make that decision when, if you did another way, you would make a lot more money. But I really believe in my heart, not to be weird or Bible thumper or anything, but I really believe in my heart that if you do right by God, God's going to take care of you. He's going to bless you. And it doesn't even have to be, I'm not doing it because I'm going to be blessed. I'm doing it because I think that's how God wants me to live my life. Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And obviously that resonates and hits home with me. For anybody who's watched the show for any amount of time knows that message, and living how God would like us to live is going to be really important for us. I think that that's a really great way for us to end the conversation today. And I just want to say a huge thank you again to Corry for being on the show today. Really appreciate you popping the hood on McCormick Automotive Center and McCormick Quality Tires and Lube, sharing what's working. And before we wrap up, I just want to give people an opportunity to connect with you, learn more about your shops in Fort Collins. What's the best way for them to do that?
Probably you can email me at Corry@mac1auto.com. If you guys have any questions, if you guys are a shop owner and you need some help, give me an email. If you are a guy that's struggling and needs some help, I believe this industry, if we can help one another, there is plenty of work. We don't have to badmouth each other. We don't have to throw somebody under the bus to make a living. I really believe that we can help each other. And the more we do that, the more we can hold each other accountable, the better quality of technicians and auto shops are going to be out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And really appreciate you sharing the contact info and extending that invite out to anybody. Seriously, if you're struggling, use the contact information, reach out to Corry. It's really good information, way more than we were able to cover on today's show.
Sorry, I talked a lot. Yeah.
No, that's great. So if you're a listener out there and you got value from this conversation, please share this show with another shop owner. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review. It helps people find the show the same way that it helps people find your shops when other people leave you a review. For more resources and real-world marketing help, obviously you can reach out to Honest Mechanic Marketing. I'd be happy to help you on that side. But just thanks again to Corry, and thanks for listening to all the listeners out there. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
ADOS is the challenge that everybody's looking at now. Some people are doing it, some people aren't. It depends probably on the demand you have. I feel that as a technician or as an employee or as anybody else, there's only two issues. One, you don't know, and two, you don't care. So if you don't know, guess what? That's my problem. I haven't done my job. If you don't care, then that's somebody else's problem. Someone comes in and they say, I need a tune-up. Okay, most modern cars don't need much of a tune-up anymore. There's plenty of maintenance that needs done, but you have to teach each customer. Each brand is different. Each type of vehicle, gas, hybrids, diesels, they're all different. So every customer needs educated on everything they need. And as much as boring as it sounds, read your owner's manual. But it doesn't happen.